Hello everyone, welcome back to the Joe McCarty Network. Today I just want to talk about the journey, pretty much how it all began, because it's quite an interesting story because it wasn't how I originally wanted to start out as far as screenwriting goes, and so the little journey there, just kind of recognizing the signs, I guess, how I got here, it's a pretty big start. So, I guess we can go all the way back to when I was 10, probably? Yes, we lived in California, San Diego, California. Interesting place, very dry, very hot. But we did live there for about 2 years. And when I was out there, I was just another typical kid, just trying to find something to do, but even younger than that, I used to always find myself kind of daydreaming. And it's just normal things. I thought it was normal things that kids went through. You daydream, whatever. Everybody does it. You're bored in class, you daydream. But anyways, when I was 10, and we were in California, I kind of just had this idea. I just want to write my own story, because I read a lot, and I wanted to see if I could be like those authors who are making money off their books. So I decided to do that. And I wrote my very first play called Lie No More. I still have it. Years, spent some years. And there were plenty of times when I wanted to throw it away because I just thought, oh, this is just childhood stuff. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. But I guess for some reason, I could never just throw it away. And so it's pretty old, and I wrote it on regular notebook paper, so the pages are kind of turning yellow, aging, and you can't hardly see the pencil anymore. But it stays with me now. It's a little bit of a keepsake. I like it, and I guess it was one of the earliest signs, but I wasn't really thinking, okay, this will lead to something like this, screenwriting. I didn't think about that at all. So I just thought it was just another hobby to do. People write, big deal. Got into middle school, and of course I'm still this big-time daydreamer, and of course I was reading a lot more too, getting into these other type novels, and our teachers were introducing us to other type genres, non-fiction, and these type of historical fiction, and those were pretty good, and it just kind of opened up ideas to other things. But I was always crazed about romance. It was always romance for me. I love romantic movies. I love the whole cheesy pickup lines and the little sayings and the guy who chases the girl and the typical storyline. I've seen probably 1,000 romantic movies these days. And Titanic, seeing that as a young girl, kind of put a big dent on me because it impacted, it had this big effect on me for the longest time, and I thought it was the most perfect romance in the world, Nobody could have played those two better than Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, and they've been my favorites ever since. And so anyways, in middle school, I started writing again. Just random story, I just want my own little romance and things like that, and it kind of went on to high school as well. I wanted a romance, and I started writing a little bit more, and I wrote my first little small book. It took a while, but I found these journals, and these little non-lined journals, and the first one was called Just One More Night. It's a romantic story about, it's supposedly me. I leave Jacksonville and I go to some town further south. I'm leaving everything behind. I'm going to a college. I'm going to live with a family, and the family has a son, and you can already see I'm the hero. He's a romantic character. We both fall in love, blah blah blah. It's so innocent. And even when I go back to read it today, I can see just how amateur I was about the whole story. Not a producer in Hollywood would even consider it. Making it. It's so out of whack. There's more grammatical errors than I can count, and the storyline just kind of all over the place, and the romance was too cliche and cheesy. But It made my heart sing that I wrote it. And of course, still hung up on the romance, things like that. I kind of wanted. I've always been fascinated by going overseas. It's one of my biggest things I want to do is travel and go overseas. And so I thought, what about a romance overseas? And so of course, lo and behold, I wrote Beyond Marriage, about about a girl. Supposedly me, I always made myself the hero, so to speak. And she goes overseas to start a new life in Italy, and she finds a guy. They get married, and beyond marriage, it was supposed to be the test of marriage, how these two people can stand the test of time of marriage. I was supposed to write a sequel, never got around to that. Grew up a little bit, realized I had priorities. I had college to look to, I had studies to do, so I never really had time for it. But I haven't even finished the first one, but I was already thinking about the sequel, and I guess I'll get back to that in later years. And I think my junior year of high school, I had this big idea. I was fascinated with the movie Troy, with starring Brad Pitt, Orlando Bloom, and Eric Bana. And I just want my own little romance. I was always fascinated by the Trojan War, and the whole thing. The movie just had this. Oh my God! I had to be a part of it. I wanted to be a part of it. With the whole swords and the battlefields and the kings leading their men into battle, and I think it's one of the most bravest moments of our history. You know, because you had real fighters, real leaders. You know, kings actually getting on the battlefield, not hiding behind some house or something. These people were about honor, you know. They wanted to die on. They weren't afraid of death and things like that. I don't know where all those attributes went in present day times. Everybody's scared to die now, but you know, back then it was a matter of honor, and you know, it was a big thing for me. So I wanted to kind of put myself in that kind of situation, and I created my first successful, completed story called United Nations. One moment. I have this. Okay. United Kingdom. Huh. United Kingdom, Narcissus, the Persian warrior. She came from Persia. You know, she was just a baby, but they were under attack, and so her parents, her poor parents, kind of like slaves pretty much, pushed her down a river, and she went floating into this new land of Troy, and she became the princess of Troy, and she suddenly falls in love with the prince of Greece. And you know, United Kingdoms, they united 3 kingdoms under them. They're married, you know, Greece, Troy, and Persia. And it's my favorite story. I've read it maybe 50,000 times, and I'm still thinking about putting it as a script. I'll be doing that. And so now getting into my present day story. Okay. Now, after I graduated high school, my head was pretty much set on oceanography. You know, I was going to college and majoring in oceanography, and I wanted to minor in photography, and that was a pretty big deal. But it was mostly oceanography, science. You know, I was fascinated with the ocean or other large bodies of water and everything that makes them up, the physical components, the biological life, and everything else, pretty much, that helps them operate and function. But I changed majors. I went into photography, came back to Jacksonville after leaving UWF, University of West Florida. Came back to Jacksonville and started on that. Finished that 2-year degree, and I just started to feel like there's still something not right. I was pretty hurt by the fact that I couldn't be an oceanographer, because that's what I had my heart set on all through high school, doing general studies of science. Well, it was basically a lot of general studies, but it was mostly science. And I was set, you know, I was passing all my classes, things were great, and I just couldn't believe it when I had to change my major. The major was getting way too tough. it was, I couldn't understand this, and I started failing the classes, and thinking, how is this so easy in high school, and it's just so difficult here? And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe this isn't my place. So changed majors, did photography, and I did pretty good with that. I started building a portfolio. I started playing with cameras more and trying to learn more and things like that. But it wasn't until a very special motion picture came out called Something Borrowed. This is the book that pretty much just started my life and will be forever, I will forever be in debt to this book. Because when the movie came out, it looked, oh my god, this movie is great. I'm going to buy the book. I'm going to read it. So I'm trying to read the book before the movie comes out. It wasn't a success. The movie came out first. I guess I didn't have time to finish the book. I was working a lot. And so one day I was on the bed reading this book, and I just stopped. And I was like, what am I doing? And it was kind of weird, you know, me talking to myself here. I was thinking, what are you doing? You're reading somebody else's success. This person worked their butt off to get where they are, selling these copies, becoming #1 bestseller, or New York Times bestseller. You could be doing the same thing. But I've never really been interested in writing a novel. But you've always been interested in movies. You love movies. You know just about every motion picture out there just by looking at the logo. You know, you can name probably about 5 movies any actor's ever acted in, at least your favorites. You know them inside and out. You go to the movies almost twice a week. So you should be doing something. You should get into this. And so I said, okay, well, let's just start doing some research. So I started kind of looking up what is screenwriting, and you know, I went through this whole battle trying to find out how do you write movies, who writes movies, how is it done, what do you have to have, and so books and movies has always been step one. You wanna learn, you wanna do something, you go to Books A Million, or Barnes and Noble, or any bookstore, or a library. You just start with a book. Because somebody out there wrote it for you, and that's what they're pretty much counting on. And so, my first book ever, writing screenplays that sell. Read it cover to cover. It answered all my questions about screenwriting. You know, as I'm reading the book, I'm like, well, but what if this happens? Or what if I have to do this? And as I kept reading, eventually the question gets answered. And now, today, proud to say, I officially call myself a screenwriter. I've been doing a lot of work since then, and I'm very proud of it. I'm extremely proud of it. And ever since I started working on that and doing everything, I officially have written my very first screenplay called I Married My Worst Ex-Boyfriend. Yes, it is dedicated to someone in real life. But the storyline's different and everything's pretty much different. So, to think that I've come a long way with so many things in between. Going from writing a little amateur messed up little play at 10 years old to now at 22 years old writing my very first screenplay. And now I do believe that screenwriting is what was meant for me, and it took so many paths to kind of see that. And I am glad for every path that has come this way to give me that opportunity, and I'm proud to call myself a screenwriter. And maybe in the future, you'll probably see one of mine on screen. Thank you. This is the Adromakati Network. I'm Nikki, your host, and I'll be seeing you again soon. Bye guys.